Jonathan, and we're all here our college students, except for, of course, Mr. Taylor. And at some point in our lives, we all realized what you guys wanted to be, whether it be firefighters, cops, doctors, lawyers. At some point, you figured it out, Not all of us, though. Some of us took us a little bit of time, some of us don't even figure it out. And that was me during high school. I had no clue, no idea what I wanted to be. I learned what they taught me, So that was coming out of high school. I don't know what to do. All I knew was I'm going to college, and I knew it was going to be better than high school because schedule. You can make your own. It's everything's you. You don't technically have to come to class, but you're paying for it, so you kind of have to. And so the only thing I was worried about after high school was pretty much getting a job, getting a car, because those are the requirements of being cool at the time. You try to take out, a lady, and you can't do it if you have no money and no ride. So I had to work on that. So coming out of high school, signing up for college, things were looking good because I had an interview that day. So I got on my little tie, make sure I was looking nice and clean. And turns out when I went to the interview, nobody else was dressed up. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna get this job. Thing was, I was applying for where you can get $5 footlongs. Subway. Not the most prestigious jobs, but hey, there's a paycheck coming in. So I got the job, so things were looking good. I got the job, I got a paycheck coming. So then the good things came. I got my first paycheck, then I started saving up for a car, and I got it. It wasn't the best of cars, but it had wheels, got a good working motor, so I got it. So everything was going uphill from there. Everything. I got my paycheck, I was driving around, I get to go out with friends, like, hey guys, I have money now, let me buy you something nice. Everything was going good, I met my coworkers, but beautiful young lady. Turns out, coincidentally enough, she became my girlfriend. Things happened, it's a very close story, so we became family. And at the time, I still didn't know what I wanted to be. I was still in college. I don't know what I'm going to do, let me just take it day by day. Well, everything of that changed on a December. It was a Friday, getting close to Christmas. It was a closing day, nice closing shift. We closed around 10. It's around 9 o'clock, we get those late customers, like Friday, people coming home from clubs or whatever. And I was filling up the sauces, doing a little routine, and the doorbell rings. And now we're conditioned as Subway employees to say, hi, welcome to Subway. Turn around. I remember this guy distinctively, wearing dark jeans, long sleeve sweater, a hat, a green dark hat, and he had a bandana over his face. So at that point, I already knew what this guy wanted. I just walked into the register and started pushing, to open the cash for giving him the cash. As soon as I looked up, I have a revolver pointed at my face. It was, at that point, I wasn't going to say I'm scared, I'm acting like a tough guy, but a lot of things were going through my mind that day. I worked so hard for everything, I went through so much to get my job, to get my car. I have people I love, my family, my friends, and all that in a split second, just flashed before my eyes, and I wasn't scared of the person, I was just scared of losing everything, So, I got back to my composure, gave him the guy the money, and he took off. And I remember the only time, I remember everything. For some reason, my adrenaline was pumping. I remember the car model, and as soon as the cop came, I gave him the description. He's fine. He's 6'1", he's wearing this and that. He's wearing, he's driving an Altima, this and that. And I felt he was very impressed with me. So he gave me his business card. And he said, you look like you could be a police officer, this and that. And so I took his advice, and I called him up, got a couple of ride-alongs, and it was my calling, I guess, because right now I'm trying to be a sheriff, trying to be a cop, and this and that. And I went a couple of ride-alongs, and I finally found out what I wanted to be, and it took that little instant to figure it out. So what you guys figured out as kids, figured out when I was probably 18. So if it wasn't for that moment, who knows what I would have been.